This is my 19th video discussing 1950s British science fiction paperbacks. Now in this series of videos I've been trying to cover the whole range of the mushroom paperbacks, and of necessity we've been discussing quite a lot of bad and mediocre books. So I thought that for this video it's time to get back to a bit of real quality material. In the form of E.C.Tubb's Charles Grey series. This was 9 books published by Milestone under the personal pseudonym of Charles Grey, and they're all excellent books, as we can see here. Now, the first book, they're all Ron Turner covers. The first book is The Wall, and The Wall was a lyrical, at times almost poetical space opera that concerns a quest for immortality. Set in the far future when mankind has mastered interstellar travel through hyperspace, this epic story tells of a journey to the center of the galaxy. Here, at the reputed birthplace of creation, is the Wall, a giant sphere of repulsive force more than 100 light years in diameter. An ancient alien race, having reached the peak of evolution, has created a wall millions of years ago and retreated behind it. A party of humans, led by Brett, a tall adventurer, made immortal by an atomic accident, seek to penetrate the wall to gain the secret of immortality. This novel is a minor masterpiece, brimming with a sense of wonder, and was the blueprint of several ideas and themes which Tubb would explore in his later fiction. Now, I had it reprinted many years later as The Wall, and Ron Turner did a brand new cover for it. Later, I was able to resell it to Thorpe and the Linford large print mystery library, a splendid edition here. And just recently, we see the latest republication of The Wall, together with the 1960s novel The Life Buyer. It's a 2-in-1 book. That's a superb edition, published by Bold Venture Press in the United States, who are embarking on a whole series of Tubb reprints, and hopefully there could be some more 1950s classics. So that's The Wall. Now, the next book I want to draw your attention to is Dynasty of Doom. That was the second Charles Grey book, published in May 1953 with a Ron Turner cover. This was an astonishingly inventive space opera, embodying all of Tubb's early speculations on hyperspace and alien universes. The universe is facing heat death following the discovery of the hyperdrive. A picked spaceship crew set out to investigate hyperspace, where many ships have mysteriously disappeared, including one containing amongst its crew the scientific genius De Fowler, the inventor of the hyperdrive, and the one man who might save the universe. And in a Sargasso sea of spaceships, as you see here in Turner's cover, drifting in an other dimensional limbo, the scientist's body is eventually found. A scene magnificently captured in Turner's great cover. Unfortunately, the scantily clad girl doesn't feature in the story. Now, I had so good were the ideas in this book that Tubb later completely revised them. He wrote it in a new story, but he incorporated the plot elements in this new book, Star Death, for the prestigious American publisher Ballantine Books. And then subsequently, this edition was reprinted by Wildside Press. And as I said, the ideas were the same as in the Dynasty of Doom, so I was able to reprise the Turner cover, which illustrated both stories. And then finally we see the latest reprint of Star Death in the Linford Mystery Library. see the next two Charles Gray books, The Tormented City and Space Hunger. Now somehow Milestone managed that both these books were published with the titles transposed. Tubb's novel Space Hunger was printed as The Tormented City, and The Tormented City was printed as Space Hunger, yet both books carried the correct illustrative cover painting. So how could this have happened? I'm indebted to cover artist Ron Turner and his present agent John Lawrence for giving me the clues to solve this baffling mystery. John told me, at the time, Turner's practice was to submit 2 or 3 pencil sketches to the publisher via his then agent, Greg Hall. Each sketch illustrated a different scene from the novel, with a gap left for the title lettering. The publisher would then select the scene they liked best, returning only this sketch to the artist to be painted over. By a twist of fate, the sketches selected led to a mistake by Milestone's art editor, who may not have read the novels. For Space Hunger, Turner had submitted a sketch of a spaceship, formerly housed inside a building, blasting its way free, soaring above a futuristic landscape, and opening fire with the disintegrator beam on the skyscrapers below and around it. Interested collectors who might have a copy of this book will find this scene on pages 122 and 123 of The Tormented City. Now, Milestone's editor apparently assumed that this was an illustration for The Tormented City because of the cityscape and marked the title on the board. Similarly, Turner's cover for The Tormented City showed an anxious man about to press the firing button to launch a missile into space. Here you can see it on page 119 of the Milestone edition. Our careless friend at Milestone evidently assumed that this cover illustrated Space Hunger. A couple of weeks had passed before the sketches were returned to Turner and the paintings commissioned. And Turner was already working on new covers for other publishers in the meantime, so he couldn't remember but what the covers illustrated the novels Milestone had indicated, and so they were painted and the lettering added, transposing the titles, and then returned to Milestone. The Tormented City was a tightly written thriller about one Altair the Thief, the hero, who seems to have been inspired by Elar the Thief and Charles Harness's American pulp masterpiece Flight from Tomorrow, aka The Paradox Man. But the novel is thereafter Tubb's own setting, telling of a future society ruthlessly controlled by a dictator, Bertard. Bertard is himself the dupe of a long-lived alien, mentally controlling him. Mankind is being made to construct strange towers, which are supposed to generate energy for the benefit of humanity, broadcast power. But in truth, they are intended to emit a microwave radiation that will actually destroy all animal life. The alien plans to restock the Earth from the seed of his own race, who had formerly inhabited the destroyed world, which had become the asteroids. This was one of the author's best early works, and it was to form the basis of a later Cap Kennedy novel, Monster of Metal Ears. Completely different story, but using the same ideas. Tormented City itself was reprinted by me in this splendid Linford large print edition. Now, the next novel we see here is Space Hunger. Now, Space Hunger, remember this should have been called The Tormented City. It told of a future society in the grip of hard drugs and complete personal freedom. Most of the population have become drug addicts, because drugs have been made legal. This must have seemed fanciful in 1953, but it makes chilling reading today. The genesis of this new society had begun when an alien spaceship orbited the Earth, sent by a galactic federation, took control of humanity. The use of atomic weapons had been outlawed, space travel banned, but each person was a law unto himself with no recognized authority. But a group of underground people, the antis, tried to restore the old Earth order by secretly assembling a guided missile, which you see here, with which they seek to knock out the orbiting ship. And it has a complete surprise ending. It's really a good story. I had it reprinted under a new title as Earth Set Free in Gary Levise's Griffin books, and commissioned a new Ron Turner cover. And then this book was later reprinted in the Linford Mystery Series under its new title, The Price of Freedom. Right, moving on to the next book, I Fight for Mars. Now, I Fight for Mars was a straightforward title. It was safely published in the summer of 1953, and it's been recently reprinted in the Griffin Science Fiction Rediscovery series, which we see here. Now, this story concerned a space pilot, John Delmore, who was unjustly imprisoned, during which time his wife dies because of his inability to pay for her medical attention. She was very sick, and with him being put in jail, she can't meet any medical fees herself, and she eventually dies. And he becomes an embittered ex-convict when he emerges from jail, and he has to take menial jobs on his release, fighting to survive in a dog-eat-dog society bereft of any social welfare. The only job he can get is to work on a death cart, picking up bodies from the streets, and these bodies are eventually turned into fertilizer. Contacting another ex-con, Delmore agrees to pilot a rocket to the Martian colony, joining a legion of mercenaries who protect the colony from the scourge of Mars, the Lobants. These mysterious creatures are giant insects, a cross between ants and lobsters, who attack humans in swarms and threaten the colonists with extinction. Penetrating one of their underground burrows, Delmore learns that the creatures are artificial, manufactured and controlled by a gigantic organic computer, the Central Intelligence, which you see in Ron Turner's new cover for his Griffin edition. And the Central Intelligence is the last survivor of an ancient Martian civilization. It's an exciting and colourful thriller in Tubb's best vein. Now, the next novel we see here was The Extra Man. And this again was the wrong title, but we'll explain about that title later. I'll tell you about the story first. This novel is a thoughtful study of the psychology of an alien race, the chlorine-breathing Ginzos, who are at war with the oxygen-breathing Terran Federation of Worlds. An Earth ship is captured by the Ginzos, and its crew learn of a plan to drop a catalyst into the ocean of oxygen planets to liberate the chlorine from the seas and convert the worlds into chlorine planets suitable for the Ginzos, destroying all human life. They race against time to expose a quisling in the Terran government and to restore peace to the galaxy. And had the book reprinted as 50 Days to Doom. This was because Milestone had got the title wrong. Now, how this came about was that Tubb had written a novel for them which he called The Extra Man, and he submitted it to Milestone in October 1953. And this time, confident of the artist's abilities, Milestone invited Turner simply to paint his own cover without sending a sketch in for approval, and so Turner quickly executed the cover you see here, The Extra Man. But before the book could be published, Milestone received this other manuscript from Tubb entitled The Extra Man, and they liked this second book so much that Milestone's new editor, Frank Rudman, decided they would introduce hardcover editions of their existing paperback line, a practice that had proved profitable for rival firms such as Panther Books. But they felt that the hardcover editions would need to be longer than 128 pages. Milestone especially liked The Extra Man, so in accepting the novel, they returned it to Tubb and asked that the story be lengthened. Tubb had already started on his next novel, which he sent to Milestone, before deciding how he could lengthen The Extra Man. Tubb told me many years ago, "I haven't a clue what I originally entitled it, but it wasn't the one used on the book when it was printed. A better title perhaps would have been 50 Days to Doom." And see here, that was the title I used when the book was reprinted. Tubb then wrote an additional chapter for The Extra Man and sent it back to Milestone. But Milestone were having difficulties in finding a printer who could supply the necessary hardcover boards for a bound edition, and their hardcover titles were placed in abeyance, whilst they continued with their 128-page paperbacks. Tubb's short novel, sent in November 1953, was rushed into print in January 1954 to keep the line going, and in the cavalier fashion of the day, Milestone slapped the already completed cover for The Extra Man onto the 50 Days to Doom book, and The Extra Man was published in January 1954, the fourth Tubb book to have the wrong title. Still, the hardcover and simultaneous paperback edition of the original The Extra Man was delayed, so another 128-page Charles Gray novel, The Hand of Havoc, was published in the summer under Milestone's new Merit Books imprint. The Hand of Havoc was one of Tubb's best early novels and formed the basis of his later ace book, C.O.D. Mars, where the same story was completely rewritten with different characters and settings. This highly original story involved 5 Venusian colonists who had been defeated in a war with the Earth, and they were taken prisoners of war. All of them were infected carriers of a dreadful Venusian plague, and they are banished in a coffin ship into deep space. Escaping, they plot a route to Earth, intending to spread the plague. Relentlessly bleak and suspenseful, the novel was complemented by a superb, symbolic Ron Turner cover, and it has parallels with the COVID pandemic we've been suffering from today. Uncanny prediction of the chaos caused by a worldwide pandemic. And as it was reprinted by Ace Books, the C.O.D. Mars, a different story. And the original story I had reprinted under its new title from Thorpe is Fear of Strangers. Now, finally, The Extra Man was published in February 1954. The Extra Man was the last of Tubb's early novels to be published in his prolific mushroom period, 1951 to 54. In many ways, it's a transitional work. It's written in a tighter, more controlled manner and contains a multitude of generic themes: atomic power, ESP, matriarchy, resurrection, and computer intelligence, many of which had been touched on in his earlier works. It tells the story of two men, Rosalind, a space pilot, and the scientist Kamian, builder of his experimental ship. There's an accident and Rosalind dies in space. Years later, he is found and revived by a renegade faction of scientists based on a Martian colony. Kamian's computer researches have been misapplied by ruthless governments over 2 centuries, which have now passed, and Earth is a regimented, controlled matriarchy ruled by computer prediction. Rosalind becomes the pawn of the Martian dissidents and is smuggled back to Earth as an extra man, where he causes havoc as an unknown quantity, and finally discovers that his friend Kamian lives on as a computer mind controlling Earth's population. The book was subsequently reprinted by Don Wonheim's Ace Books under the more appropriate title of The Mechanical Monarch. Milestone, because they'd used the title The Extra Man, they stuck on their own totally inappropriate title of Enterprise 2115. So when I had the book reprinted by Wildside, with a recycled Turner cover incidentally, I restored Tubb's title of The Extra Man. You see the book here. And this book is currently in print in this science fiction gateway series published by Orion, with 3 Tubb novels, classic Tubb novels, of which The Extra Man is the first novel in the book. And this is currently available.